Continuing our conversation with the candidates here on AM Quincy. And next up, a very familiar name and face. I think a lot of folks will recognize Frank Santoro running for his school committee seat once again. Frank, good to see you.
Yeah, it's, let's see, I forget how many times it's been, but I enjoy doing it, Joe.
Yeah.
And that's why I do it. I keep thinking that we have a great school system here. And I like to think that I had something to do with it over the years. And being retired now and children growing up, and grandchildren even, I've got more time. And I'd like to keep contributing to make it the best it can be.
Okay, so you've been off for 4 years, right?
Yeah, 2.
For 2, okay.
Well, yes, yeah. Well, I ran 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I've been off for 4.
Yeah.
I did a stint on the school committee in the late 80s
Yes.
and the early 90s,
Yes.
vice chair, and then came back after I retired.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not to mention the fact that you were principal at Quincy High School for a number of years. Yeah.
In Central the year before.
In Central, yeah.
Do you know, at Central, I really studied the APC program quite a bit. And I don't know if you remember Dr. Carmen Mariano.
I do indeed.
Okay.
Sure.
We were part of a study group to study that. And I wanted to bring a little bit of Brookline into that program. Because if you remember, they took the 5th graders and they bused them to Central a couple of days a week.
That's right, yeah.
Well, in Brookline, what they did was they hired the specialists to go to the schools. And in that way, they reached more kids.
Okay.
I'm happy to say it's happening in Quincy.
Is it really?
Years later.
Okay.
Yeah.
So keep the kids where they are and bring the specialists.
That's correct. And not only that, they go down into the younger grades.
Yes. Okay.
It's a great thing to do.
APC is what, Frank? It's
Advanced placement program for
Okay.
kids that are a little more gifted
Yep.
and could be pushed a little harder in their knowledge.
Sure.
Yeah.
How long has that been going on in Quincy, roughly?
Just a couple of years now.
All right.
Yeah, I was happy to see it come back.
Yeah. Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
So, why do you want to come back on the school committee, Frank?
Well, like I said, it's such a great system.
Yeah.
Being part of the system as a principal at Quincy High School, learning the things that have happened over the years, knowing the things that are coming up in a bit, I think that I can still contribute with my experience. God, it's been over 50 years in public education in 3 different systems. Yeah. So I think I can still do that. And I think of the days at Quincy High, we were very fortunate to be able to design a building that's won 3 national awards. I don't just mean in its beauty.
Yeah.
I also mean what happens inside. We've changed the curriculum for vocational programs so that they're better matched to other subjects. And to me, Somerville High School just copied our design.
Is that right?
Yes.
That's a great compliment.
I served as a consultant for Sims Maney and McKee, the company that I was the architect.
Okay.
And they also did Somerville High.
I know at the time it was groundbreaking for a public school, right?
It still is.
To have separate categories.
That's
kind
right.
of wings, I guess, if you will, for each vocational
Well, what had
program.
happened in the past was those kids were kept separate.
Right.
And
It was a separate building, right?
and we paired them to things they should be next to.
Yeah.
It made sense.
Yep.
You walk, I kept saying, you don't come out of your house and do 50 minutes of mathematics. It's tied to other things.
Sure, yeah.
And interdiscipline is the future.
Do you think North needs the same kind of setup
Well,
eventually?
that would take a reconstruction of the building because you got to place them next to each other
Right.
in location. So between the Central Middle School and the high school, I think I've learned a lot about schools and become a consultant. I was a consultant on Channel 25 for a while for educational issues.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And then
in fact, you're still working. You're on the Squantum Building Committee, right?
that's correct.
For the new
I'm on
Squantum
this-
School.
yeah. Thanks to the mayor.
Yeah.
I've been on the Squantum design. Wait till you see that building. That's a gorgeous building.
I've seen the renderings.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's going to be well done. The climate control with the geothermal climate issues. Also, being on the board of directors at Quarry, Quincy Asian Resources, for a number of years, I had a sensitivity to our immigrant community. And that's why 5 years ago, I made the motion to have Lunar New Year off. And didn't even get a second to my motion for discussion. I'm happy to say, knowing the candidates and where they're coming from, I think it's a real possibility that next calendar that's planned by the school committee, you'll see it all.
You think it'll happen?
I think it will
Yeah.
happen.
Was that one of the reasons you decided you wanted to run again?
That's not one. No, it could. It is one of the reasons, but not the major reason.
Not the major
The
reason.
major reason is to contribute to a great school system.
Sure.
And keep it great.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think helps me is being on the board of governors at the college. Early college is one of the best things that's come along, and dual enrollment, where you can sit in either one of our high schools and get college credit, in so much as having a 1 year under your belt when you leave high school.
You really get a jump start on it.
I'm surprised not everybody's taking advantage of that.
Yeah.
If people are listening,
Yep.
take advantage of the early college program.
Are there things the school system can do to improve the attendance in that?
They are.
Yeah.
They're trying to
Okay.
seek out kids to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Identify them, right?
yeah,
Maybe from the EPC program,
yes. And then I think about the needs that are down the road.
which are
Well, even as a principal, I always said,
your wish list.
anything you do is tied to being safe
Yeah.
and learning.
Yeah.
Anything falls under those two umbrellas. We just had a safety survey done from outsiders. I want to keep working with that, with the mayor's office, to make sure that we answer the protocols that come back to us in that study. The second thing about safety is the buildings themselves. One of the best things that happened to the school system was that the city took over the maintenance programs. That way, we didn't have to decide as a school committee whether to buy books or fix a floor. There are a number of things that have been taking place in our city, in our buildings, because of that turnover. And through grants, I made a list
Yeah,
of
please
some
tell
of the
us.
current things.
We were talking before we started
Yeah.
recording about this, and it was news to me that it's only been about 15 years since the
Yeah,
city's been
yeah.
responsible for
and
the
under
maintenance.
Paul Hines' direction
Yeah.
in the city. At Beechwood, recently repairs to the heating system and the air conditioning. Atlantic, flooring, new AC system, a new roof. Atherton Hall, flooring. Snug Harbor, HVAC units, air conditioning, LED lighting. Point Webster boiler system replaced. Marymount flooring. North Quincy High replacing the unit ventilators. LED lighting. Lincoln Hancock food service kitchen, lighting. Squantum preparing the building for the new construction
Yeah.
and the temporary classrooms. ECC, new HVAC replacement. Quincy High lighting, Montclair lighting, and the list goes on, Joe.
Yeah.
Things that the school committee does not have to pay for.
How did it work before the city took it over, Frank?
Each of the maintenance buildings were housed in the school system.
Oh, okay.
They had their own carpentry.
I see.
They had their own plumbers.
Gotcha.
Now that we just fall under the city.
Okay.
And
all
it's
right.
a major reason why our buildings are safe. And they're safe because we have a planned vision of maintenance and new construction,
Okay.
taking advantage of the Massachusetts grants that are
Oh,
out
yes.
there.
Yeah. So,
So-
it's coming out of the regular city budget now, and as opposed
It comes
to
out of the regular
just
city
the school
budget.
budget? Okay, so the
And
school
grants.
budget's reserved for education.
That's great.
Okay.
And grants.
And grants.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
The other thing that's part of is learning. With the loss of the MCAS, we need some kind of proof for continued growth.
Okay.
Some vehicle. I want to make sure that stays happening so that you can see growth of students and teachers over time.
Okay.
That falls under the safety and learning.
So a citywide initiative rather than a statewide
That's
kind of,
right.
kind of standard.
That will follow standards,
Yes.
but make sure it's happening.
Okay.
That's big.
Okay.
Because I saw it as a principal before MCAS. I saw it before state standards. People were doing their own things.
Yeah.
There was no continuity.
Right.
And that was not a good thing.
That was one of the arguments
That's
against
correct.
getting rid of MCAS.
That's right.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it did pass regardless. Yeah.
And then attendance is a big issue.
Sure.
Do you know, I used to get the freshmen in an assembly on the first day and tell them that at least 30 of you aren't going to make it to grade 10 because of your attendance. And sure enough,
That was eye-opening, I bet.
it's eye-opening,
Yeah.
but sure enough, it happened. They don't realize that after the 7th absence, you were going to flunk the course.
Well,
And kids got ruined in the first quarter, so they couldn't make it up over the year. They were all done after the first quarter. What did they do the rest of the year? they cause you headaches.
Got
That's
in
what
trouble,
they did.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so what we did was we started a program called New Start, where we identified the kids that had poor attendance, kids that hadn't passed a subject in years in the 8th grade. And before they were mainstreamed into the public 1,600 kids, we had a special self-contained program for them.
Okay.
With the parents' permission, we gave them 2 teachers in a self-contained room. We changed the curriculum so they didn't get all at once,
Yeah.
and we gave them incentives for coming, as even jobs. And it really worked. I really want to try to institute that program again.
Oh, it's gone away?
It's gone away.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to try to get a grant
Okay.
to hire staff to do something similar to that,
Okay.
to help these kids that haven't passed and have
Before
poor
they get to the
attendance.
high school level,
That's
right?
right.
Yeah.
And we also have to hold parents more accountable. I'd like to work with the court system. It's their legal obligation to get those kids to school. And I'd like to work with the court a little more to make sure that that happens as
Really?
well. Yeah.
Wow, I've not heard of
Yeah.
a proposal like
Yeah.
that before. There's a state law, right?
That's correct.
I think it's at least through 6th grade they're
Yes,
required to go to a public school.
you need to get your kid to school.
Yeah. Okay.
And let's see, I'm trying to think of other things I'd like to work on.
Yeah. What about have you thought about artificial intelligence? It's in the
Yes.
conversation now.
Yeah, most
so-
definitely.
Yeah.
But it's just like when the calculators first came up. I remember sitting in a Boston teacher's room, and some guy came in with a radio that was about this big
Yeah.
and showed us how we could add and subtract
Yep, yep.
and multiply and divide.
Right.
We've come so far
Yeah.
with technology. This isn't going away, Joe.
Oh no, I agree.
It's here to stay.
Yeah, for sure.
The kids know it.
Yep.
It's how we use it that's important, is a balance. Because the good thing is it could help you research, but the bad thing is it takes away your ability to develop skills in critical thinking because it's too easy.
It could do it for you, right?
And as a younger child, it could be very damaging
Yeah.
to the thought process. That's the bad part.
Okay.
I'd even like to see a course at the high school where it tells you the disadvantages and advantages of AI.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And how to use it. I know the city's on it, the school department's on it.
Yes.
We have people studying it.
Yeah. Okay.
But there is a balance
Sure.
to make sure that it doesn't become too detrimental to the thinking
Yeah.
process.
You have been actively involved in contract negotiations as well. That's a
Yes.
special skill that you
Yeah, well, it's not a special skill.
No, it is.
It all comes down to what you have for a purse.
Yeah.
I was happy to say that the contract I was involved in, it was a little tough trying to get the money squared away. But I made a motion, not made a motion, I brought forward a proposal so that younger teachers, if they were taking maternity leaves, they didn't have days that they could draw from because they're too new. They didn't have a buildup of days.
Sure.
So I said, let them count the days after they serve the years. Let them borrow and then pay back later.
see. Okay.
That helps
that
solve
works.
that contract.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Very good.
And, yeah, I think also my my connections to Quarry and the immigrants.
Yeah.
And I think that helps. What we need to do is get more faces that are similar to our kids' faces in front of them in the classroom, as well as the administration. Working with Quarry, there's connections now to the college where immigrants now can also get into college next to nothing and try to work towards a teaching degree. I'm hoping that more teachers that are similar to what our children look like get involved.
Okay.
We've hired a EDI coordinator.
Yes.
She's very good. And we'd like to follow some of her, support some of the initiatives she's doing, as well as train our younger kids. They now have a Future Educators Club like we used to have,
Oh, is that right?
where kids are becoming trained, becoming teachers
Yeah.
because they have an interest and they're beginning to like it. I think that will help as well.
Okay.
But we need more faces that are similar.
Yeah, I think I read 40% of the student population is of Asian descent.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
huge. Yeah.
that's huge.
And in some schools, it's much higher than that,
And
right?
not just teachers, administrators,
Yes.
everybody. They need to be more reflective of our kids.
Sure.
And I think one other thing I really like to work on is parents and teachers having a bigger voice with decision making. They currently serve on school improvement plan councils. But Steve Durkin and I, in the late 80s and early 90s, we had a parent from Citywide sitting at school committee where they could talk.
From the PTO?
Citywide PTO.
Yeah.
We had the president of the QEA sitting with us, Mary Curtin, sitting with us on the school committee. I'd like to try to institute that again.
Okay.
Where we have a representative from Citywide, a representative from the QEA sitting with us at school committee meetings. That way, they have a voice in the decision making.
What about a student representative?
Well, we
also?
already have the students.
Okay.
And we did back then as well.
Okay.
It worked out quite well.
What would that take? Would that take a vote of the committee?
It would take a vote.
It would.
Yeah.
Okay. So you would propose that?
I would propose that.
Okay.
I probably wouldn't get a second again, but I would propose it and work towards it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite obvious you still have a strong passion for
Yeah,
education.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I come
And
in.
another thing we have to watch out for is the budget,
Yes.
because the more federal funds we lose, and it's coming down the road, the more we have to be conscious of how we're spending our money. So that's important as well.
Okay. Do you think there are any other new schools that are needed in the city after Squantum is done?
Yes,
You're-
I think that the St. Mary School is coming aboard.
Yep.
Thanks to the mayor, and hopefully it becomes a reality.
Okay.
I don't like seeing our fifth graders misplaced into the middle schools in the point at Point via the Clifford Marshall and the Lincoln Hancock schools. It's not a good thing to place those kids outside their schools.
Okay.
Hoping that the St. Mary situation might be able to help that. But there's a downside to having a new school. That means reconstructing who goes to those schools.
Right. Redistricting
Yeah,
essentially,
it's
right?
going to bring
Yeah.
redistricting
Yeah.
into the picture.
Okay.
So we
And
got.
transportation issues too, right? Yeah.
So I'd like to make sure that parents are part of that decision.
Oh, all
making.
right. Okay. Going
Yeah.
forward. Very good.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of ideas
I
and
do,
a lot of
I
thoughts.
do. That's why
obviously you've put a lot of
Yeah.
thought into this. Yeah.
Well, I still watch the meetings. I still keep abreast of what's going on.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yelling at the television.
Yeah.
What are the things that frustrate you right now, Frank, when it comes to the way the school committee, does its work?
Well, not frustrated. I think we have a great system because of those people that are sitting there.
Okay.
And I honestly believe any one of the candidates running will keep the system going. The good people, people that want to give up their time, and the committee that currently sits there, they're bright people. They know what's going on, and not only that, our leadership is top notch. Kevin Mulvey and his team, Aaron, and all there is the superintendent's leadership team, good, smart people, keeping us where we should be.
The DeChristopher Early Learning Center, have
Yeah.
you followed how that is making changes in the system?
It is. It's
Yeah.
keeping more kids in the system.
Right.
You know, those bills could be upwards of $100,000 to
Yes.
send those kids elsewhere. Somebody moves into the city and their child needs that service. Bang! That's where most of our deficits happen. When we have to make sure that the kids' needs are met and send them in outside placements. In the end, the DeChristopher Center will assist in making that bill a lot less than what it currently is.
Okay. Do you have
Yeah.
thoughts for what the Amelia Della Chiesa Childhood Center could be now that the DeChristopher Center is open?
Well, that I don't know. We have a lot of preschool programs.
Yep.
There's a need to help those fifth graders. I don't know if they, but I'm sure they're on top of it.
Sure.
Oh, there's one other thing
Yeah.
that I would like to mention. Many school systems have immersion programs.
Yes.
You go to Milton next
They
door.
have their French immersion program for years now, yeah.
I would really like to see our superintendent's leadership team study the possibility of a Chinese immersion program at one of our elementary schools. I think we're ready as a city to take that step into something that's moving us forward in a forward direction.
Okay.
Something I'd like to see them study.
One of the issues that's come up is communication between the school committee and
Yeah.
parents. Do you think that it needs to be addressed?
I think not only communication, I think the administration has to be at what's going on.
Right.
If you're a principal, you need to be at those things.
Okay.
I think that helps. If you're on the superintendent's leadership team, you need to see what's going on in the buildings. You got to get out of your offices. That's a start in helping communication.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with going to a parent meeting. And I know that a lot of the citywide meetings, there's good representation. But the first step, I think, is to make sure you know what's happening. You're there. You see it. Athletic events, school plays, goes down the list. It's a very busy schedule. But that's important. Communicating what's happening in your building, even on a weekly basis through newsletters. I had a newsletter, but it wasn't enough when I was there. I look back at when I was at Quincy High. I should have had it every week. There's so much going on in that building. And parents that have issues usually aren't aware. They're not reading or they're not attending the PTO meetings. Attend, see what's happening. You'll find out what's going on. But weekly publications are important.
Okay. Cool. It's a cooperative effort, it sounds like.
I know the superintendent puts one out.
Yes.
Principals should too.
Yes. Principals too. Okay.
Yeah.
So what's it been like back on the campaign trail again?
Well,
for you?
it's good.
Yeah.
Although it's too hot to go knocking, I wouldn't be able to finish the route.
Oh, I don't think anybody would right
On the
now.
cool days I have. But we had our kickoff fundraiser. It was a great night.
Okay.
We had a lot of people. We had entertainment. We had a gentleman by the name of Joey Voices. He was an impressionist. He sang. People had a great time. And I gave a little speech about similar to what I talked about here today. But campaigning, meeting people, talking about, listening to what their concerns are. But a lot of it is they're not aware of what's actually going on.
Okay.
So things like this
Yep.
help in letting people know.
Sure.
Just like that list I read earlier.
Of all the improvements.
And who's paying for it.
Yeah.
And what allows us to become a good system because we're not spending our money on those things.
Interesting. Okay. Going forward, what's the game plan leading up to the election?
Well, we've got a primary, but not in our race.
Not in the school committee.
But
right?
that's going to keep us busy during the primary.
Right.
There are races in other wards, very active races, I'm
Yes.
sure. So I've got to make myself visible in those neighborhoods. A lot more walking, and then I think that by meeting people at events and door knocking and dropping our literature, we'll have a few people helping, and that's it.
Okay.
That's it.
You do you have a website for your campaign?
I do.
Okay.
It's Santoro, SC for school committee.
Yep.
@weebly.com.
Okay.
You got that?
Got it. We'll write it down for folks so,
All right, thank
so
you.
they can see it. Anything else you want to share, Frank?
No, that's about it, Joe. I thank you again for this opportunity, and I look forward to assisting and helping in any way I can in the school system. Hopefully my knowledge will keep us being one of the best systems in the state.
All right. Great to talk to you. Thanks for coming over.
Thanks for having me,
You're
Joe.
welcome. And thanks for watching us here at AM Quincy. I'm Joe Catalano. We'll see you next time.